Hello and welcome again to another edition of Real Estate Pros of Houston. And today we have Kenton Ellis with us, and he is an agent here in the Houston area. And we're looking forward to having him as a guest and getting to know him a little bit better, and just telling us his story and why he does what he does. So, Ken, thank you for coming on the show, and we look forward to getting to know you.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to sharing my story with everybody.
Well, sounds good. Well, I always like to just start with that question. Tell me your story. Where are you from? How long have you lived in this area? How long have you been in the business? So just kind of tell us about your life, and so when people tune in, they may have some sort of connection to you. They're like, man, that's the guy I want to use because he went to Texas State University, which I found out a few minutes ago. And so anyway, just tell us your story.
So I'm from here in Houston. I was born here. And then going in through, I guess, to 6 years old, I started traveling the world with my stepfather and my mother. Spent 2 years living in China, another 2 years living in Dubai. I spent
Wow.
one regrettable year living in Oklahoma. No offense to people that like Oklahoma. It's just not my cup of tea. I went to Texas State University, and then after that, I relocated up to Arizona through most of COVID. I was doing property management, so I was in charge of an apartment complex there. And
Okay.
throughout somewhere during that time, I just realized that I wasn't doing what I loved to do. I was kind of in a little bit of a rut with the work, and I saw a Facebook advertisement that said, click here to get your real estate license. And I said, okay, let's do it. So I started taking the courses online. I finished them up in about 4 or 5 weeks, and then I packed up my bags and moved back to Texas.
Wow, 4 or 5 weeks. That I've talked with agents that have taken years to do those classes. So you got after it pretty quick.
Yeah, with my personality type, when I set my mind to doing something, I get pretty determined. So I mean, I would work and then I'd come home and all I would do is the real estate classes, and then I'd go to sleep, and then I'd wake up the next day, I'd go to work, come home, just do the real estate classes because I knew the faster I could get them done, the faster I could go ahead and start my career. And at the time, after starting to do my research, I realized the rates were super low, the market was super hot. So the longer I took to do my classes, the more I was missing out on that right time to get started. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, very cool. What part of Arizona did you live in?
I worked in Tempe. I lived in Chandler, but
Okay.
Arizona is not like Texas. So,
Yeah,
don't go city to city is maybe 20 minutes versus, you can drive an hour and still be in Houston.
yeah. I lived in Anthem, Arizona for a little while up there, just north of Phoenix.
Okay.
And I lived there for a year, oversaw the mortgage operations for Pulte and Dale Webb for the West Phoenix West Division, and I loved it out there. And our office was in Scottsdale, so I knew all about the area. I just loved the desert. But yeah, you're right. You can go from I don't know 5 or 10 different cities in a matter of 5 or 10 minutes, just moving around the outskirts of town.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I loved it as well. Little hot during the summer.
Yeah,
Great place to be during the winter. So if you're looking to visit, go during the winter.
right.
During the summer, they really do mean like don't go hiking, don't go outside. It's true. The dry heat will get you. So
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's a great winter good place, but it cools down pretty quick, but it
oh
warms
yeah,
up
it
real
does.
fast.
Yeah.
So
So
so what drives you? What makes you get up in the morning?
my alarm clock. No. So I don't know. I just I'm in real estate not to make like a quick dollar. I want to make a career out of it. Eventually, either start my own team, build my own brokerage. Kind of something that I can maybe make a family business. Maybe it's something my kids get into when I have kids.
Mhm.
So I think it's just that long term longevity goal that drives me. So it's really easy to lose sight because once you make the money or you make some money, it's easy to just lose sight, go spend it, go do something else. But for me, because the goal is so long term, it means that I have to be consistent almost every day of the week. So
Yeah, yeah, that is so true, and it's important when I visit with agents on this show is the successful people that I interview what you have to do a certain amount of business or you don't get invited to be on the show. But they all have that mentality is this is a long-term deal and you have to stay in touch with people and you have to, manage your database and all of that. And the ones that struggle the most that I've talked with over the years, I've been doing this, God, 25 plus years. And a lot of those guys are like, no, I don't have a CRM. I don't have any way to stay in touch with people. And I'm like, well, there's no reason that you struggle so much is because you don't stay in touch with the people that use you in the first place. So that's super important.
No, absolutely. It's all about, obviously hard work will get you part of the way. But I've also learned to leverage working smarter. So, if I can have a CRM that does a little bit of the follow up for me or just some soft touches, that's huge. Of course, I'm going to keep in touch personally with a lot of people too. I'm not afraid to hop on the phones. But to try to, be sending all the emails, to be making all the text messages and making all the phone calls and showing houses or, listing homes, you're only one person at the end of the day. So
no, I look around at people's production and I see where you sold, and not just you, but where agents sell, and they may have something in Katy and Cypress and the Woodlands and Kingwood.
yeah.
And I was like, man, I feel so sorry for you guys because y'all have to do that, going all around town and do the CRM stuff that you're talking about. And we get to stay right here in my office all day long. And I don't have to go all over town like you guys do because y'all keep the road hot here in the area. You have a big area that you have to cover.
Yeah, and I mean it's worth it. When I find that buyer the perfect home, even if I drove an hour to get there and I see their eyes light up and we get it under contract, like that makes it worth it to me. I'm a big podcast listener, so I listen to a lot of podcasts while I'm driving, audiobooks, music, of course. So I try to make it entertaining for myself, but I've also found that as much as my office is here where you see me now, that personal hotspot on my phone and the plug-in volt charger on the truck, that becomes my office. So oftentimes, I'll have to pull off the highway at a gas station and just bust out the laptop and start working from there. It's just kind of become a reality.
Right. Well, what does success mean for you, and how do you define it?
Defining success is hard. And I think the only reason it's hard for me is because I feel like I'm always going to want a little more. So I can say I'm successful, but there's always someone who's doing it a little bit better than me, a little bit faster, and I'm competitive. So I guess successful is being at or somewhere near the front of the pack for me. In terms of, sorry, what was the second part of the question?
How do you define it, and what does success mean to you?
Oh, well, to me, that just looks like kind of building that longevity career. So I always tell people that, I'm in real estate, I sell houses, but the goal is to one day not sell houses directly. So, I want to start a brokerage to where I'm a resource for the agents. I help them with their problems. I make sure that everyone's getting that excellent customer service that I've built, in my career, and that they're passing that on to their clients. But I'm not directly, selling a bunch of homes anymore. I'm more of a guide. So that's long-term. That's where I'd like to see myself, is not so much on the front lines, but more in the back, managing a business, helping people kind of grow their own businesses, and, hopefully teaching them the hard lessons that I had to learn before they make the mistakes.
Yeah. Well, when did you buy your first house, and was that what got you into this business, and was the experience that you had buying your first house an enjoyable one, or was it something that was an awful experience and you were like, man, I can do better than this guy did for me when going through the process?
Well, unfortunately, I actually haven't gotten a chance to buy my first house. So when I was working in the corporate office, I was living in Arizona. And if a lot of people don't know this, but when you switch over to 1099, you need about 2 years worth of pay stubs to get approved for a loan. So I just hit 2 years a couple months ago. So my home buying experience will probably be with myself. And I'll be buying that home sometime next year with my girlfriend. But it's given us some time to live together, We rent a home in Katy. We figured out that, we're not going to kill each other living together.
Yeah.
And so it's given us some time to do that. I understand the process a lot better than I did when I entered the industry. Not to say that I entered in with, zero training. My brokerage did a great job of, training me, making sure I knew the documents to send and kind of the ins and outs. But I mean, you learn every day. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to go into that experience for myself. But in the meantime, until this lease is done here, I just focus on helping the clients. But I have seen people who have come to me from other agents or who have, had different experiences throughout the industry, and they have had poor experiences. And I think a lot of that deems from communication skills. So although the agent knows what to do, they're not very good at communicating that to their buyers. And when you're doing it for first-time home buyer, I mean, they don't know what's going on. So you really have to let them know, hey, this is the first step of the process. This is what's going on now. This is what missing appraisal means. This is what we can do when we miss appraisal. A lot of agents don't feel the need to explain that.
Yeah, you're so right on that, because communication is such a big key to it. And we really focus on making sure everybody is aware of everything as we go. We built our CRM to as we hit certain milestones, it will send emails to them to tell them, hey, we just ordered the appraisal. And then I went in and shot videos to attach to those CRM letters or email letters that explains what that process means and what can happen if the appraisal comes in low, or what it happen if it comes in high, or what if they need inspections, I mean, additional inspections or repairs. And so we try to address that in our videos that are attached to the milestone emails that automatically go out. And then we have it built to where it'll also send a text to the borrowers as well. Just a quick, hey, we have ordered the appraisal. Be sure and check your email, so you get, the gist of what that means. So it's people get blown away by the communication that we have, but we've built it into our system. And then on Tuesdays, we always call everybody in the pipeline to let them know what the latest is. So you're right. Communication is a key to it.
Yeah, it's definitely a game changer. I've had deals where everybody, including the title company, me, the listing agent, the lender, were all in great communication. Those deals go super smooth. Here recently, I had a deal where the lender and I weren't in good communication. It was tough to get a hold of them. And that deal was tough, just from the lack of communication. And the buyer was frustrated. I was frustrated. The lender was frustrated. And it all could have been resolved if we all just kept better communication. So,
were you on the buyer side or listing side there?
I was on the buyer side on that one.
Okay.
They had brought in their own lender. I hadn't worked with that individual before. And I was excited too, but I just found it difficult, to get them on the phone, slow to respond to text. So it was just difficult in that regard. And the buyers were having the same issue. So just once again, if that communication had just been a little clearer, I think there would have been a lot less frustration, a lot less deadlines missed. It was first-time home buyers, so they had a lot of questions.
And they're already stressed out just because it's their first time. So
yeah, exactly.
Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But so what is one thing you've always wanted to do but haven't done yet, but you still have the plan to do that?
That's a great question. I'd say here recently, I've always wanted to sell $1 million home. I haven't gotten to yet, but I do have a client who's looking. So hopefully that pans out. I think starting my own real estate team or brokerage in the future is something that I'm always going to want to do. I haven't had the opportunity to do it, but that one is a slow goal, a long-term goal more per se. So I'm aware that I want to make sure that I'm really ready to take that next step before I jump into it. Yeah. I think that trying to grow too fast can be, some people's Achilles heel. Yeah. So I really want to make sure that everything that I do on my own is a very smooth and, well operated system before I try to bring in other people and try to, teach them my system. So
what about on the personal side of things?
Personal side of things, I'd like to start traveling a lot more. I traveled as a kid a lot overseas. Here recently, I've been traveling, I guess, amongst the states. I did a trip to Boston, was living in Arizona. But it'd be nice to start traveling overseas again, especially now that the COVID epidemic has really slowed down. So I got my passport renewed. I took a trip to Mexico, not quite overseas, but I'm hoping that next year, maybe a trip to Greece. Haven't been there before. Start to
that
see
would
some
be
of
a great
Europe.
place to visit. I always thought that as well.
Yeah, Australia is on my list. Huge fan of the coral reef and everything, but
Yeah.
we'll see if I make it.
Okay. Well,
I
I'll
don't know if
hold
that's
you
happening
to
next
that.
year.
I'll hold you to some of that, some of those goals going forward. So, well, what are some getting back to the business side? What are some struggles that you're having in the business right now?
I think me and everybody else is probably just struggling with the rates kind of pushing buyers out of the market. Rates are high right now. I get that, and for some people, it's just not feasible to pay that much in mortgage, that much of a mortgage and principal, towards the house, principal and interest towards a home, and still be able to live. And so for those people, they are legitimately being pushed out of the home buying market.
Yeah.
There are some ways around it. New construction is offering a lot of buy downs on rates. So that's an option for some people. But a lot of people don't realize that what you're getting in the buy down, you might be eating a little bit in the tax, because tax for new construction is often pretty high. So that's the biggest obstacle. But I always tell people, if you can't afford to purchase a home, it's better to do it now than to wait. Especially if the reason's just the high rates, because you and everybody else in the industry knows that you can refinance the rate, but you can't renegotiate the price that you pay for the home. So
Yeah. I think so many people are waiting for these rates to drop back down to 2 and 3, and they're just not going there.
they're not going to go back
I've been doing this,
there.
like I said, 25 years or so, and most of my career, it's been in the 5s and 6s, which is ours is like 6.75 right now on FHA, and so this is what's normal to me. That time of 2 and 3 and low 4s, that was not normal, and I don't think people really want that to happen again, because I heard that for every point that the rate drops, that brings in an additional, what was it, million home buyers into the market. So then you got this issue of bidding against 15 people and having to pay more for the house than what the asking price was.
Yep.
So you got to be careful what you ask for. And you're exactly right. You can refinance if they fall, but at least you lock in the price of the house right now.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And then a lot of people, I guess, and maybe it's just the podcast that I listen to, but there's also a big focus on what it's doing to the inventory itself. So, you get a lot of buyers who lock themselves into super, super low rates, like 2.75, 3s, 4s. These people don't want to sell their houses come 5-10 years because they have such a low rate. So that's kind of propping that low inventory that we're seeing, which is keeping the prices high. It's keeping everything competitive. Even in today's market with the rates where they're at, me and my client are in a multiple offer situation right now where we're trying to get him into this house, and they have multiple offers even with the rates. It's still kind of scary to see that, that can happen given the right house.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So I know you haven't been doing this very long, but was there ever a time that you felt like giving up and saying, I'm going to go back to doing something else?
I wouldn't say a time I felt like giving up. There was definitely a harder time in my life. So whenever I first moved back, I had a great successful career in property management, and I came back here to Houston, and I had to move in with my mother, which was very humbling because I was joining a career where it had no paid salary, so I wasn't making any money, just living off of my savings. And then on top of that, to kind of keep up with my responsibilities, because at that point in my adult life, I have a car payment, I have insurance I have to pay for, my phone bill, the bills that you really don't think too much once you get used to paying them. I took on a nighttime job. So one of the things I was doing is, I'd wake up, 6:30, and then I was doing real estate from about 7 until I'd say about 7 p.m. I'd take an hour to eat. And then from like 9 to about 1, 2 in the morning, I was out picking up trash at apartments.
Is that
The
right?
valet trash service. That was me. And so I would be running up in the stairs, grabbing the trash, bringing it back down. And I was doing that for about 6 months to make sure that I could cover all my financial obligations and still be able to, start my career in real estate. And I'd say
Wow,
that
that's very impressive.
for anybody in that same situation, my biggest piece of advice is always to pick a second job that you really don't like. Because oftentimes when I'm running up and I'm picking up people's trash and it smells and it's gross, the only question I could ask myself is, how long do I want to do this for?
Right.
Because, if I'm successful in real estate, I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
And so if you want to give yourself some drive, put yourself in an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah. When I was getting into the mortgage business, it's all commission as well. And I worked for somebody, and then I ended up starting my own company. And to get all that going, I used to umpire baseball games. And so I would work mortgages, call on realtors and builders, whatever, from 8 to 5. And then I hit the ball fields at 5:30, and I would umpire baseball on from 5:30 till about 10:30 at night by the time they got done. And then on the weekends, I would umpire uh, tournaments. And so it'd be all day Saturday and part of the day Sunday. We went to church on Sunday, so I didn't umpire a lot during Sundays. But yeah, there's so many things that in this business, people think that it's so easy. They see their friends making a lot of money, and they don't realize that it is a lot of work, and you do have to have a part-time job to get off the ground, to get you a few deals under your belt, and because it's not as easy as it looks. That's why 87% of the agents are in and out of this business in a very short period of time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I didn't want to be one of those statistics when I started. So my biggest thing was finding a part-time job. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't like trash was at the top of my list of what I wanted to do. But it was mainly just finding a part-time job where I could commit myself 100% during the day to real estate, do something at night to make money, get a little bit of sleep, and then be able to wake up and do it again. That was the only thing that I could find at the time that paid decently and was going to give me that flexibility in the time schedule. So.
Very, very cool. So in your business, what are 3 non-negotiables that you have to get done today or this week or this month? But what are things that have to happen in your business?
So for me, the first one, and I think a lot of people don't realize when they get into this business, is that you kind of have 2 jobs. So at first, I thought I was just in the business to sell homes, and that my job was just to find people homes, and that is part of my job. But my number one job is actually lead generation. So I'm a lead generator. So making calls, sending out text messages, keeping up with my CRM. That is the first non-negotiable thing that has to be done every day.
Wait, what? You mean that business just doesn't come running through the door?
I think the only client that I ever expected to have and that I knew was 100% locked in was my mother.
Yeah.
So unless everybody's given birth to you, they're not 100% guaranteed. You're going to have to go out there and get it. Secondly comes the home search part. So I think, and maybe this is just my mindset, and it might change as I, get bigger and grow, and maybe I won't be able to handle quite as much of it. But for my clients, at least, I can tell you their home searches by memory of what they're looking for. And I like to go through those searches every day in the morning to see if any new listings have picked up. And I have them on automatic searches, and, it'll send them the home so that they can see everything. But I've yet to find a search on anybody's website or, through HAR that can tell you what color the kitchen countertops are. It's just certain things that it can't do. And so I like to go through by hand and check and look. And it gets easy once you do it all the time, because typically, I know on this person's search, I'm like, there's only 6 listings in this neighborhood that pop up. So if it pops up with 6 listings, there's nothing new. And I just kind of move on. So that's one of the big things that I make sure I have to do every day.
That's something you do every morning?
Yep, every morning. So typically I do that while I'm drinking my coffee before I start calls. And then after that, I do my CRM and my calls. I'd say the last thing that's a non-negotiable for me every morning is probably just the learning something new. So I try to listen to podcasts. I'm in the middle of listening to Gary Keller's Millionaire Agent.
Oh
That's
yeah.
been a really good listen. So just learning something new that I can try to apply to my business or just have knowledge on hand, because there's just so much to know, and it's hard to know it all. So
Yeah. Well, I have a lightning round that I usually ask, who's your favorite author or speaker? But I'm going to ask that question now instead of waiting. Do you have a favorite author that you listen to in the car, or a speaker that you like to go hear?
It depends on my mood. So right now, I'd say my favorite, as far as like an author, probably is The Millionaire Agent. I feel like it's very, very intense. Teaches you a lot about kind of. I'd say it's a great listen for, and some people disagree, but if I were coming into this industry and I was trying to listen to that, I think it'd be a little too advanced for me. I wouldn't really understand or be able to grasp the concepts.
Hmm.
But I think if you're in a point where you want to transition from being, just kind of your average agent to someone who's operating a full-on business, it's a must listen, because it
Okay.
really teaches you the depths of like understanding your business and what numbers you have to put in to get certain numbers out and how to interpret that data.
Hmm.
So I think that right now is my number one as far as books that I'm listening to or am listening to.
Okay.
In terms of speakers, I'm a big motivational speaker person, but I actually got the opportunity to listen to, and he doesn't label himself as a motivational speaker, so I won't say that, but I got to see Tim Groves speak in person, which was Kobe Bryant's personal coach. He coached
Ah,
Michael Jordan personally.
yeah.
And that was really inspirational to kind of hear him and how he sees the world, a lot
Hmm.
different than how most people see the world. So,
Interesting. Well, I have to look him up on YouTube. I did just recently download um, Gary Keller's book onto my phone because I listen to a lot of audiobooks as well. And I just downloaded his book, that book that you're talking about, Millionaire Agent or something.
mhm.
And I'm looking forward to listening to it. I'd rather listen to it than listen to the stupid radio that has commercials every 3 or 4 songs. So, um, if you had to do all over again, is there anything that you would have changed or done differently?
Man, I actually was thinking about that just the other day.
Yeah,
So I was laying in bed, I couldn't sleep, and I was like, if you had to do everything over, like, what would we do different? And at first, my answer was I would have started sooner,
yeah,
meaning I would have, right out of leaving Texas State, just jumped right into real estate, not even bothered with the property management stuff. And then I sat and I thought to myself, actually, probably not. I'd probably do it the same. And the only reason I say that is just because of where I'm at. I'm very happy. But I'm also aware that a lot of the skills I developed managing property, because I started on the leasing side and I worked my way all the way up to managing the whole thing, uh, really translated to real estate. And so, had I not learned those skills, not learned how to cold call, talk on the phone with people, marketing, how to manage a budget, how to work with vendors, I probably wouldn't be the same agent that I am today. So, if I
yeah,
could go back and start over, I'd probably do it the same.
yeah. So, and remind me again, how long have you been doing this?
2 years as a real estate agent. I just renewed my license in August.
Wow. Well, to have the production that you have and your successes so far, it's really impressive because I deal with people that have been in this for 20 plus years and they're not doing as well as you are, and they're not utilizing the technology and the CRMs that you appear to be using, and so what you're doing is pretty impressive to be this successful so quickly out of the chute.
Yeah, and I'm super grateful for it. I think I wouldn't say 50-50, but 90% of it's going to be just a lot of hard work, staying consistent, doing the things I'm supposed to, and then
Yeah,
there's going to be that 10% where you make enough phone calls, you get a little bit of luck on your side. So you call 800 people, someone's going to buy a house.
yeah. So
So
how do you go about getting your client? I mean, who are you calling? Are they cold, or the leads that maybe a family member gave you, or where do you get the phones to the numbers to call, and who are they?
So when I first started, it was sphere of influence, like everybody else.
Yeah,
So just calling anybody and everybody I knew and letting them know that I got my real estate license. And because of the time that it was, which was 2020, Sometimes I'd get, that's great. So did so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. And I was like, okay, well, can I take you to coffee? And it was always coffee because I couldn't really afford to take people to lunch.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that.
Cheaper thing there.
So it was there. And then I was fortunate to do a lot of research on the brokerage that I wanted to join, and very fortunate to land with Cypher Real Estate with Jim Mulholland. Yeah. And so one of the big things I liked about his setup was that he had his website that was running for a long time, and they had this pond of just people that, leads that agents had just dropped or not picked up. And he was like, yeah, once you get on here, you get through your transition period, you can go fishing in the pond. So you can call as many people as you want. I think what Jim wasn't ready for was the fact that I think the first week that I was allowed to make calls, I was calling like 1,000+ people. I was just really, I was going through this pond.
Oh my God.
When he said I could call as many people as I wanted, I took it as a personal challenge. I was on the phones and I didn't have anything else to do. I didn't have any clients to show. So what else was I going to be doing with my time? And I had to pick up trash later that night. So call people.
So if you're on that many people, you probably got a fair number of people that were just like, dude, don't call me anymore. And how did you deal with the rejection that you get by going through? It's a cold call for you. I mean, they may know Cypher Real Estate, but they don't know Kenton, right? And so that you had to have some severe rejection during those calls.
Well, luckily, I was born with tough skin. My family's very big on like practical jokes and kind of making fun of each other. So a lot of it just rolled off my back, didn't really mind. And then coming from the leasing industry, that's a very cold call heavy industry anyways. So I would already used to making cold calls, and, people can be nasty to you on the phone. It's fine. They're going to hang up in 30 seconds. You move on to the next one. Maybe the next person's nicer. Maybe they're not. At the end of the day, just don't take it personal. It's how do you feel when you get a call and it's someone trying to sell you something? Sometimes you're nasty to them, and that has changed in my life. I am much nicer to the people who call me about sales.
You're exactly right. I'm the same way, because I hate cold calling, and I don't do it that often, being that I've been in the business so long. But man, I have taken a total turn the way I address people when they're calling me as cold. And because I know what they've been through, and it's not a fun thing to do.
No, it's not. But to kind of get back on where we were, so I was calling the people from the pond. From there, I think my first 6 months, I was able to do 8 home sale transactions. And so from there, I started working the 8 people that I sold homes to figure out who they might have, got as many referrals as I could, stayed calling on the pond. The next year, I was able to double. And my first full year, I did 16. So I'm still, calling those sphere of influence people, seeing who they have referral wise. But then during that year, I took the step to start my own website. I have my own LLC. I do my own Facebook marketing. So I get leads from my Facebook marketing and I call them. So it's just kind of reinvesting in yourself and building. And I found that to be the smartest thing to do as you move through this industry is, don't take all the money and run and buy yourself a nice car. Dump it back into your business, bet on yourself.
Yeah. And you're so fortunate to have found Jim. I've known Jim for a long time, and he was always so far ahead of everybody when it came to technology. And I've known him for probably, 13, 14 years, something like that. It's been a while since I've talked to him, but we used to go to this coffee club and that he started. And it was mainly just guys that were in all these different industries that just came together and, talked about what they do in their business. And we learned so much from just people in other industries, because they may share some technology that we didn't even know about. And Jim was always sharing that type of stuff or inviting those type of people to that coffee club. And man, you found a good broker there to work with.
Yeah, I'm super fortunate that he took the shot on me. It was a bit of a different situation hiring me. I was in Arizona at the time. I had, I think, a week left of classes until I could take my test. And the conversation was a video call just like this. And I was like, hey, I'm looking for a brokerage. I'm moving back to Houston. I grew up there. I'd like to start a job doing real estate. I don't have my license. I have 1 week until I can take the test. But I'm going to move there, take the test. I'm going to pass it my first time, and then I'll start selling houses. Will you hire me?
You knew exactly what you wanted.
He was like, if you move to Houston, I'll hire you. And so a week later, I showed up at the office.
Wow.
I was wearing a suit, and what I didn't know was that day the office was having their meeting at Jim's pool, so I had to go buy a swimsuit. And I had my first meeting with their team in the pool. He's not. But I didn't know what to expect in any other industry. You go for your first meeting with your boss, you wear a suit. So I showed up wearing a suit.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, be sure and tell him I said hello, and whenever you get to see him again, and I need to reach out to him. But when do you see yourself walking away? Are you wanting to build? You've mentioned several times about building a team and a business. Is it that you want to pass this to a family member, kids, if that's in your future, or do you see yourself selling the business down the road? What's your plan there?
If I could pass it on to a kid, if they have a passion for real estate, that would be awesome to kind of start building a name in it. If they don't have a passion for it, I'm never going to push it on them. I want them to pursue what makes them happy. I think that, if you pursue what makes you happy, you don't work as hard in life.
Yeah.
So I would probably end up, selling it. As far as a timeline, I don't really have a specific timeline. In the next 10 years, if I could have a team or a brokerage started, that would be ideal. I know I need another 2 years to get a brokerage license. So I know the timeline for that, and I'll start studying for my test next year. Try not to do that in 4-week period. I think it's going to take me a little longer for that one.
Yeah.
But as far as a timeline, I don't really have one. I just know that eventually I want to hit that goal. I don't know if it's going to be so much just like, building the team and completely walking away, as much as I want to have just kind of more of a hands-free role. So I think I always want to be present there, but, I want to have people in place where, they're managing the office, they're managing the marketing, and I'm kind of sitting on top of the pyramid, and I handle the problems that come up that might need. Or if, there's agents who have questions, or they're trying to, build a business similar to I did, if they want to have like one-on-ones, and really just passing the knowledge forward, I think is huge.
Well, what is, I told you 30 minutes passes pretty quick.
That's okay.
We've been going 37 minutes, so I want to be respectful of your time. So I'll kind of start wrapping up. But what are your goals for this year? The fourth quarter. Well, I guess we're already in the fourth quarter, so we kind of, you'll have whatever you have in the pipeline, probably going to finish out this year. But what's your goal for next year? And is it a dollar volume? Is it a unit volume? And just share with us your goal.
Yeah. So, my goal for this year was, same as my goal for last year. My goal for last year was 20 transactions. And I hit those with leases, but I was talking 20, home sale transactions, and I hit 16. So I missed it by 4. And my goal this year was the same 20 transactions. I'm currently at 19. I need 1 more to hit it. Which I'm pretty sure we're going to get. So I'm not super, super worried about, hitting
congratulations on
I'd like to crush it.
Well, congratulations on that, because this is apparently this is the worst market ever. And so you're just plowing right through that issue there. So good job.
Thanks. I guess nobody told me.
That's another common phrase that I hear with all these agents that are on this show. They say, people forgot to tell me that it was a bad market, but I still did well. And so I think they stay focused on what they do. They do it well. They're very efficient, and they don't listen to everybody else that says, oh, this market sucks. And they just keep going like you're doing.
Well, at the end of the day, the market is what it is. You kind of learn to play with it. The strategies I was using to get clients homes during the flood, the hot market, is very different than the strategy I'm using now. So you have to adjust with the market.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, I guess, is just not focusing on that. Focus on getting your clients, make them happy. If their objective is to buy a house, then I'm going to help them buy a house. But as far as the goal for next year, I haven't set one as of yet, which I actually got in a little bit of trouble. I've been told that I'm supposed to do that at least 90 days out. I'm already late because technically it'll be January 5th that these things are coming online.
Yeah.
So I'm working on kind of getting together on a goal.
You're
of
12
what I want
days
to
late.
save. I know, right? So I'm working on getting that set. I've been so focused on this year that I hadn't really looked to next year yet. Mainly for me, it's two types of goals. So there'll probably be a transaction goal, a number of units I'd like to move, as well as just kind of now a business goal. So, where I want to see my business going in the next, year or so. The number of social media followers I'd like to hit, the number of people I'd like to have in my pipeline, the number of registrations on my website that I built, just kind of, lining those goals in. And then as well as doing that, it's going to be looking at my budgets and kind of, getting serious about what I'm putting towards marketing and running a really, really accurate P&L sheet and really getting organized is the key for next year. So.
Very cool. Well, I've got a saying, and it's kind of a question that, and I write it down because I want to make sure I read it right. It says it's an old saying. It's not my question. It's just an old saying, and I'll read it to you. It says, "You spend your youth giving your time away, in your old age trying to buy it back." What do you refuse to give away today that you won't have to buy back down the road?
I guess time with friends and family. So as hard as I work, as much as I work, I do carve out time for my friends and family, and I make sure that every now and again something will get in the way, and I might have to reschedule. But for the big events, birthdays, congratulation dinners, baby showers, weddings, I'm not available during those times because I can't get those back. And as much money as I could make by working myself to the bone now, I'm never going to get those times back if I give them away. You can't buy that. So
no, that's so true. And man, there's so many people that are in this business that they miss a lot of those events. And I refuse to do that as well. When I was younger with my kids, and it just passes by so fast, and you're right, you don't get that time back. And now my oldest daughter's 30, my youngest is 28, and I just got my first grandson in May, and so now I refuse to miss any of the events for Luke. And it's like, man, there's so many people that you see in this industry that just give it all away. And I don't get it, but good congratulations on that. Well, I tell you what, I'd have a lightning round, and we'll shoot through those, and then we'll wrap it up. But it has been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit. But we already covered the favorite author and speaker, and you may have already covered this. You mentioned Greece and all that, but your favorite vacation spot?
Oh, well, I haven't been to Greece or Australia, so I can't say if they're my favorite. I took a trip to Playa del Carmen recently. Very nice vacation spot. Enjoyed it a lot. I stayed at the Rio. If you're looking for a place to stay, excellent hotels. So I'd say as of recent, that was my favorite vacation. But that was also the first vacation I ever taken where I was a full adult on it. I paid for everything. That was my first big boy vacation, I guess, per se. It wasn't so much of a family vacation.
Me and my wife went to Playa del Carmen back in 2001, I guess. And we got back on Saturday before 9/11 happened. And,
oh, wow.
We were so fortunate to even get back because, they stopped all the travel.
Yeah.
But that was a great place with it. We just had a great time. We didn't stay at Rio. I have stayed at Rio in Cabo, and man, that's a nice place there. So
the service was excellent. I booked the hotel because I thought I was getting a great deal, and then when I walked in the hotel, it was like am I at the right place? Because I think I stole the rooms.
Yeah. Well, what is your favorite pastime or hobby?
Favorite pastime or hobby? I've taken up golf recently. So I
Yeah,
like to go golfing. I'm not super good. I shoot like in the 90s, 95,
that's pretty
which
good.
most golfers don't break 100. So I'm,
Yeah.
maybe I'm better than the average, but the people I play with all shoot in like the 70s and 80s. So it can be an adventure. So I like to golf. I used to play tennis in high school, so I still like to play tennis when I can.
Yeah.
Really just anything to get me active. I like to move around. Nothing hurts too bad yet, so I
Yeah.
want to enjoy it.
Yeah, well, enjoy that where you don't get sore every time play it around the golf. That I used to play a lot of golf,
Yeah.
and I got fairly good at it. I was in the upper 70s, low 80s all the time. But then you have kids, and you slowly lose that golfing time. And I gladly gave it up, to be able to spend the time with the family. But so, what is a favorite movie of yours?
Ooh, favorite movie. That'd be pretty difficult to say. I can't really say that I have like a locked in favorite as of like recent films to come out.
Yeah,
Growing up, I was a really big fan of The Breakfast Club, and I can't really tell you why. I
yeah.
was such a little kid when I first saw it, and then rewatching it over and over and over as I grew up, I learned like there was so much more meaning in the movie than I knew as a kid.
This is so weird. I was coming into the office today, and the theme song was playing for that movie, and I thought, man, I need to watch that again because it does have such a really good word and message behind there. If you just sit and watch I think there was 5 of them,
Yeah.
and they all have their different take on life, and
They just
and
kind of all come
that's
from different backgrounds. And you throw
yeah,
them into a room, and like it's just kind of watching their interactions, and from
yeah,
the start where you can tell they're all very uncomfortable and hated each other, to the end where they're
yeah,
almost like a united front against the
right.
principal.
Right.
It's
Okay,
interesting.
well, I'm going to take that as a sign that I heard the song, and now you mentioned it as well. So that's got to be a sign that I'm supposed to go watch that again. Okay, last one. Favorite sports team?
I am a true Houston fan, so I like the Houston Rockets, Houston Texans, and the Astros, and the
Got
Dynamos
it.
if we're watching soccer. So
Gotcha.
all the H-Town teams, I'll support them. If we get a hockey team, I'll support them too.
Well, that sounds good. I did the Astros. I love the Astros. We got a big series coming up Saturday, so that'll be
Yeah,
a fun weekend. So,
they had me splitting bullets with waiting until the last game to clinch the division.
isn't
But
that the truth? You didn't even know if they were going to make the playoffs, and then all of a sudden they win the division. So,
yeah,
I felt sorry for the Ranger fans that they were in the lead for 154. I think the 154, 124, one of those 154 days out of the year. I mean, out of the season,
yep.
and the Astros were in the lead. I think 24 days, but they were in the lead on the day that it counted.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. You always got to worry about the finish.
Yep, that's right. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for being a guest on the show. Hopefully, you had a good time, and we looked maybe have you back again, maybe at the first of the year, and we'll talk about how the year ended out. But would love to have you back as a guest. And how do people get in touch with you? Email, websites, phone numbers. I know we have your phone number scrolling across the bottom. But how else could they get in touch with you if they want to use you as their realtor?
So phone number is the easiest way. Shoot me a text, give me a call. You can go on to Jim's website, cypherrealestate.com. You can find me there. Or you can go to my website, which is actually easyhoustonhomes.com. Easy, like the easy tag.
Okay.
And you can find me there. So it's really just your choice on how you want to contact me. But text is always going to be the fastest response, because typically, even if I'm showing a house or on a call, I can shoot a quick text message back to you and say, hey, I'll give you a call in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is. So
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being a guest. And if you guys need to reach me, I am the owner of Next Step Home Loans. I've been doing this 25 plus years. I need to go back and add up the number of years I've been doing this. Kind of lost track, but if you need me to, you need to call me. It's 832-504-9014, or you can visit our website, nextstephomeloans.com, and we'll be able to answer any of your questions. And but yeah, it's been great having you, Ken, and best of luck to you finish out this year. And but if you guys need anything, let us know, and we'll be glad to help you out. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the podcast. And we'll see you next week with Real Estate Pros of Houston. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.